Okay, here we are at the home of Pyrrhus Concer. Pyrrhus Concer was a black man. He was born in 1814, right here in Southampton. He was an indentured servant from birth. The New York state law stated that any child born of a slave mother after July 4th of 1799 would be born free. He would then be an indentured servant until he reached the age of 25 if it were male, and 21 for females. So actually, Pyrrhus Concer was not a slave. He was born free. He grew up in the household of Nathan Cooper, who was his mother's owner, until he was 5 years old, when he was sold for $25 as if he were a slave. As I said, under New York state law, he was an indentured servant. When he became 18 years old, he then went out to sea. He became a seafarer, and through his workings on the ship, he became an excellent sea pilot. He's a great navigator. And with how the whaling works is the harpoon is attached to the boat. And if you harpooned a whale and he was flailing around in the water, unless you were a really great pilot, you would be capsized. And he was an expert at that. So when the great Captain Mercator Cooper decided that he was going on a whaling trip out to the northern Pacific, he took Pyrrhus with him. And along on that journey, they eventually became the first Westerners to enter the port at Tokyo. It was called Yedo at the time. So Pyrrhus Concer was a very noted man because by being part of that seafaring trip, he gained a lot of popularity, and he was written up in the various newspapers and magazines of his time. In 1849, he wound up going to California to be part of the gold rush. He was a 49er. He didn't get a lot of gold. He really didn't make it too much. He didn't make a lot of money on that trip. And he eventually came back here to his home in Southampton. We're at the head of the lake called Agawam. And when he came back here, he started a ferry business right across the street there. And he took off from here, and he would ferry people down to the beach back and forth. It was 10 cents a ride. This summer, there's going to be a reenactment, I would call that, a reinstitution of his ferry service. But the ride, I hear, is $500 down to the beach. So it's a pretty expensive project that they're on. But actually, it was his life and his legend have been confused a bit. Even on his gravestone, it starts off saying born a slave, and that is totally incorrect. He was very well esteemed by the local Southamptonites. Everyone spoke well of him. He started buying property as a young man, and his grandmother turned over her property to him. So at the time that he died, he owned about 5 acres right here in Southampton. After he died, a few acres of this property were sold to Elihu Root, who was a member of the president's cabinet at the time, and he moved out here, and he occupied Pyrrhus's home. Over the years, it has passed on to other people, and just as recently as last year, 2013, it was purchased, and then there were plans made to tear it down. The response in the Southampton community stopped that process, and right now there's still hearings going on about whether or not this is going to be made a landmark. There's a sign over here to my right indicating that the next meeting is going to be held on July 14th to further consider whether this property will be landmarked and preserved, and in honor of Pyrrhus Concer. So I guess this is a story that's to be continued. We've written a book about Pyrrhus Concer. We have an exhibit that is opening August 15th at the African American Museum, The Life of Pyrrhus Concer, telling his story. And I guess we'll have a final ending to the story after we hear this July 14th meeting. But the museum will follow up on the story and bring you the rest of this story of Pyrrhus Concer.